The wind moved like memory across the black dunes of Zeroth 9. It didn't howl, didn't wail. It whispered, always whispering. Some said the sound was just the grit and heat sliding over metal bones of fallen ships. Others swore it was the voices of things best left buried. Riven Kale didn't believe either. He just heard the wind and kept walking. His boots sank slightly into obsidian sand as he descended into what had once been a command spine of a crashed relic. It's curved, hull broken like a rib cage against the dusk horizon. Age had taken most of the identification tags, but his scanner confirmed it. The Vrelic Mind, a ship from a pre-collapse age, long before AI wars and human ascension fleets. A ghost among ghosts. Riven worked alone. He had no crew, no base, just a crawler and a toolkit stitched together from the bones of worlds. His livelihood was scavenging forgotten places for things still blinking, still breathing sparks. Not glory, not war salvage, just life support coils, thermal regulators, maybe a sealed ration unit if he was lucky. The small things that let colonies survive another week. He entered the hull with a quiet breath, stepping over rusted joints and vines of crystallized wire. The inside was darker than night, the only light from his wrist lamp casting thin shadows against metallic walls etched in a language he didn't know, or maybe half recognized. Don't stay long. Syra had warned him that morning over shortwave. The ship's memory banks might still be warm. Some of the old ones, they dream in code. They remember. He didn't ask her what that meant. She believed in ghosts of data, souls made of signal. Riven believed in broken parts, and fixing them. That was his world, until he heard the breath. Not wind, not echo. A breath. Shallow, raspy, not human. He turned instinctively, then followed it. Through broken corridors, under sagging struts. Deeper into the belly of the ship. The air was still, heavy with the scent of rust and something older. Animal. He passed a field of collapsed stasis chambers, all cracked, all empty. Then he saw it. The wolf. It was lying curled in the center of what must have once been a biothrone. Silver fur shimmered dimly like moonlight underwater. Faint light pulsed from narrow lines down its limbs. Circuit tracings? Veins? He couldn't tell. Its eyes closed, its chest rising weakly. Wires anchored it to the base of the chair. Not medical, not life-sustaining. Containment. He approached slowly, the floor groaning underfoot. A thin hiss escaped from one of the broken tubes, but the wolf didn't stir. It was beautiful and wrong and ancient. He felt something in his chest lurch. Not fear, recognition. His hand moved before his thoughts did, reaching out toward the soft fur at its side. The moment he touched it, the air around him tightened. His vision flickered, and he saw something impossible. Stars wheeling backward, a tower of crystal burning with silver fire. 1,000 voices screaming in silence, then nothing. Breathless silence. Riven pulled back, heart hammering. The wolf's eyes opened, not fully, just a crack, but enough. Gold. Glowing. Old. It looked at him like it had seen him before, like it knew him. It didn't speak, didn't growl, didn't move, but he understood one thing with certainty. It was dying. And it wasn't just a wolf. He looked around. The wires anchoring it were rusted, dead. Whatever had powered its prison was long gone, but the creature was too weak to move. Its limbs twitched occasionally, but even that effort caused flickers of pain across its glowing circuits. He crouched beside it. "I don't know what you are," he whispered, "but you shouldn't be left. Here." The wolf blinked, slow. No resistance. Riven slung his pack aside, pulled the emergency blanket and a portable lift rig. The wolf was heavy, much heavier than its form suggested, but he managed to free it from the seat, severing the last anchors with a plasma cutter. The moment the wires snapped, a small pulse of light shimmered across the chamber. The ship groaned. Outside, hidden among the orbiting wreckage, something blinked back. Back on the surface, Riven laid the creature gently inside the crawler. It didn't protest, just breathed. The silver light of its fur pulsed faintly now, as if responding to the movement to the air. He started a mild heat cycle in the shelter bay and collapsed into the pilot chair. He didn't tell Syra, not yet. Instead, he watched the wolf for hours. Dreams took him eventually, fractured images of things he couldn't remember ever seeing, tall beings with faces of smoke, a planet ringed in metal arches, a war of light. Always, the wolf walked beside him. When he awoke, the crawler was quiet, but the wolf was watching him. Its eyes were open now, fully, alert, and something behind them shimmered, not like an animal's gaze, but like a deep, ancient lake, holding reflections that weren't yours. Riven sat up. "You're awake?" "No," reply. But a feeling brushed his thoughts like a whisper at the edge of hearing, a nudge, not words, not sound, just awareness. "What are you?" he asked. The wolf tilted its head slightly. Then behind them, a soft ping echoed from the console.incoming signal, encrypted, origin unknown, ultra-range burst packet. Riven frowned and opened the data log. The message wasn't in any known language, but the signature header was unmistakable. Sovereign Collective Reconnaissance Net. Priority alert. Legacy signal detected. His stomach turned. Something had heard the signal from the relic. Ship, and they were coming. He looked at the wolf again. "What did I just wake up?" The wolf stood for the first time. It wobbled, legs trembling. Then it growled, not at him, but at the air outside. Not fear. Warning. Riven knew then, without knowing how, that this creature had once stood on the edge of a dying world, had fought beside beings lost to time. And now it stood beside him. He didn't know what that meant, but he knew one thing. He couldn't let it fall again. He turned the crawler toward the southern canyons, deep, buried caverns where signal couldn't reach, where legends spoke of forgotten vaults and sleeping cores. He didn't care about legends. He cared about giving the wolf a chance to survive. And somewhere beyond the stars, cold algorithms spun awake. The past had moved. The wolf walked again, and nothing would be the same. The storm came at dusk, not of wind or sand, but static. The sky above the canyon split with silent arcs of violet electricity, and all around Riven's crawler the world went quiet. No birds, no night creatures, only the faint buzz of dormant sensors waking in long-buried ruins. The wolf, if he could still call it that, paced the rear compartment now, stronger with each passing hour. Its limbs moved fluidly, almost silently, as if remembering muscle it hadn't used in ages. The glow in its fur had deepened and faint glyphs shimmered just beneath the surface of its hide. Patterns Riven couldn't read but felt he somehow should understand. "We're here," he murmured, as the crawler halted before a jagged stone face marked with ancient carvings, partially covered by sandslides. He activated the core drill attachment and began to bore a passage, careful not to crush the entrance buried beneath. The vaults were a myth, scavenger talk mostly, about tunnels cut by the architects of the first star empires beneath the bones of long-dead moons, places not charted by AI nor seen by the sovereigns. Riven had dismissed them all his life, until the wolf had looked at him, and something old inside him had remembered. The drill struck a hollow point with a metallic groan. A blast of cold, dry air rushed out, smelling of dust and electricity. Behind it, a sloped corridor cut in hexagonal shapes led downward into silence. The wolf stepped forward. Riven followed. The inside of the vault didn't match any architectural style he knew. Smooth black stone met crystalline veins that glowed faintly as they passed. The air was heavy with memory. Every sound echoed too long. Every step felt like a trespass. The further they descended, the warmer it grew. Not physically, but psychically. Like the walls were watching, remembering. As they crossed a circular chamber, the wolf paused suddenly, its ears flattened. It lowered itself, growling softly, not at Riven but at the far end. where a figure stood, not human, tall, robed, motionless, its face hidden behind a helm of translucent obsidian reflecting starlight that wasn't there. For a long moment, no one moved. Then it spoke. "You have awakened Velthari." Its voice wasn't sound. It bypassed Riven's ears and echoed straight into his mind, leaving a faint sting behind. Riven stepped forward protectively. "Who are you?" "I am Kethinai, sentinel of this threshold, bound to watch until the bearer returns." The wolf, Velthari, stared hard at the sentinel, silent. "It remembers nothing," the sentinel added. The sleep was deep, deliberate. Riven clenched his fists. "I found her in a wreck. She was chained, nearly dead." The sentinel tilted its head. "You were meant to." "Your blood remembers." Riven froze. "My what?" Kethinai raised a long, thin hand. A shimmering thread of light extended from his palm, reaching toward Riven. Velthari snarled but did not strike. The thread touched Riven's forehead, and in an instant his vision fractured. A world of light, cities floating in oceans of air, creatures of glass and shadow. A pact, sealed in starlight. A guardian, born of memory and metal and soul. A war, betrayal. And one bloodline sent scattering among the stars, carrying echoes of what came before. He fell to his knees, gasping. "What was that?" he whispered. "Your inheritance," the sentinel replied. "You are last of the echo-bound. Your DNA carries the key to awaken Velthari. That is why she lives, why she follows." Velthari stepped forward now, no longer growling. Her gaze had softened, her eyes full of recognition, of sorrow. "She was a guardian," the sentinel continued, "the final defense against the sovereign collective before time fractured. Her body is a vessel, but her essence was sealed." Riven swallowed. Why? Because her power could not fall into wrong hands. Not again. Not after the first war. Riven looked at Velthari and she returned the gaze. "She trusted you," the sentinel said. "And now, the sovereigns know." As if summoned by the words, the chamber lights flickered. A harsh mechanical tone echoed from above. Something had breached the surface. "They followed your signal," Riven cursed. "Can she fight?" "Not alone," the sentinel said. "She needs her bond. She needs you." "I don't know how. You don't need to know, only to choose." Velthari stepped beside him. The glow in her fur pulsed rapidly now, matching the beat of his own heart. A deep part of him felt the pull, the gravity of something ancient stirring within. He reached out. Her fur was warm. Light exploded between them. He was floating, or falling, inside Velthari. No, inside her memory. He saw worlds through her eyes, walked through time, felt the ache of dying stars, the shame of betrayal, the long silence of sleep, and then, him, his face, waking her, a bond forged by DNA. Yes, but deeper, older. It wasn't just that his bloodline matched, it was that he cared, that he chose her, when no one else would. The light faded. Riven gasped, now lying on the stone floor. Velthari stood above him, but changed, larger, taller, her shape now semi-humanoid, like a lithe fusion of wolf and starlight standing on two legs, eyes glowing with impossible depths. "You chose," she said. Her voice was real now, spoken aloud, melodic and broken by age. "I remember you, Riven Kale." He stood staring in awe. What are we?" "We are bonded." The sentinel stepped back. "The sovereigns are at the gate." A loud clang echoed above. Dust rained from the ceiling. Red lights flared across the walls. "Go," Kethinai said. "There is a weapon buried in the heart vault, one that only the bonded can access. You must reach it before they do." Riven looked at Velthari. "We finish this?" She nodded. Together. They ran. The corridors twisted now, alive with power. Behind them, metallic screeches echoed, the sound of the sovereign drones descending. They moved like ghosts, their limbs clicking, their eyes burning with digitized hatred, but Riven and Velthari stayed ahead. Finally, the Heart Vault. A massive circular chamber, with a crystal at its center, glowing dimly, pulsing with stored time. The weapon wasn't a gun, or a bomb. It was memory, preserved, locked, until the right touch awakened it. Velthari stepped forward and placed her clawed hand on the crystal. Riven did the same. Together they spoke the word neither had known minutes before, but somehow always remembered. Vilarith. The chamber exploded with light. Above, the sovereigns froze, and in the vaults below something ancient awoke. The sovereigns didn't scream. They had no lungs. No souls. Only the glinting hum of thousands of processors acting as one, cold, calculating, void of fear. But when the Heart Vault lit up like a second sun, they stopped. Because somewhere, in their endless libraries of logic, there existed one forbidden truth. The wolf must never awaken, and now, she had. Riven's mind struggled to hold on to reality. The moment his hand touched the core crystal beside Velthari's claw, he saw everything. Not just memories. Realities. Entire branches of time where she never woke. Timelines where Zeroth 9 collapsed into dust. Where sovereigns ruled in silence. Where no one chose to care for a broken creature in the ruins. Endless diverging moments. And in all of them, only one path remained clear. This one. Focus, Riven, Velthari whispered. Not aloud, but into the space behind his eyes. Her new form shimmered beside him. Part wolf, part woman. Her fur now flowed like liquid starlight, and within her chest pulsed the shape of a miniature sun. This was no simple fusion. He hadn't just activated a guardian. They had become something together. The vault trembled. Above them, the sovereigns began their descent. Long tendrils snaking down the walls, bearing laser-tipped limbs and fractal-bladed drones. The lead unit, shaped like a metal wraith, scanned the room and froze as it saw them. Riven, Velthari said gently. They're going to unleash the data cull. They'll erase this moon's entire memory. Every stone, every relic, everything that ever mattered. We can't let them. Then how do we stop them? She looked at the crystal. With all of me. He understood. The core wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a memory engine, a time-folding reactor built by Velthari's creators, designed to collapse or preserve entire sectors of reality, depending on the emotional imprint of its wielder. And only the bonded could activate it fully. If you channel it, he asked, what happens to you? She looked at him for a long time, then smiled. It doesn't matter. But to him, it did. The sovereigns surged forward, blades whirring, beams charging, time slivering around them in fractured echoes. Riven closed his eyes. Take me with you. Her breath caught. You don't have to. I want to. He placed both hands on her chest where the heart sun pulsed and whispered, we finish this. The world cracked. Not with sound, but with memory. Velthari stepped forward, her body lifting into the air. The glyphs in her fur burned with radiant fire. Her eyes turned liquid silver, and Riven, now suspended in light beside her, felt himself dissolve. Not die, but become more. They merged again, not just minds, but essence. A fusion not of biology, but of intention. Love, compassion, courage, the will to protect what others abandoned. A shockwave of gold erupted outward. The sovereigns halted mid-strike, their processors flickering. Something ancient and forbidden surged through the vault, through every stone and broken system. The heart core ignited fully, transforming into a sphere of cascading light that consumed everything but left only memory in its wake. And in that moment, time bent. Across Zeroth 9, the sands reversed briefly, Shattered relics reassembled themselves. Extinct flora shimmered briefly back to life, as if the moon itself was inhaling again. And then, silence. When the dust finally settled, the vault stood empty. The sovereigns were gone. Wiped clean from the neural lattice of reality, Riven Kyle stood alone in the center, or so it seemed. He felt her, still, not beside him, but within. His hands shimmered faintly with the same glyphs once found on her fur. His heartbeat echoed in patterns not unlike a song, and wrapped gently around his wrist, like a promise, was a single thread of luminous hair. Hers. He stepped from the vault. The sky above Zeroth 9 was still cracked with strange auroras from the energy pulse, but peaceful now. The AI had been pushed back. The memory wipe prevented, the planet preserved, but the war wasn't over, because now, across the galaxy, the signal had spread. Velthari's awakening was a beacon, and the Ancient Ones were beginning to stir. Weeks passed. Riven returned to the scavenger outpost near the equatorial rim. Most thought he was dead. Others whispered strange rumors about the energy storm that ripped through the southern craters. The sovereign ships in orbit had vanished, he said. Nothing. Not because he had forgotten, but because he remembered too much. He walked now with quiet strength. Strange glyphs sometimes glowed on his hands when the stars aligned, and sometimes when the nights grew still, a wolf's silhouette walked beside him in shadow, no longer limping, no longer paralyzed. "You're still here," he would say, and the wind would answer, always. But that wasn't the end. Because one day, as he walked through the starlit remains of another forgotten wreck, a soft pulse came from the scale on his wrist, a message. Not from Velthari, but from others, guardians, once lost, now waking, and they were calling him. Riven Kyle, the last echo-bound, carrier of the wolf's will, a human who chose compassion over protocol, and by doing so, changed everything. And